My phone is off, yes.
Mm-hmm. Can you see that screen over
wait,
here?
Can I put it on?
All right. All right.
Good evening and welcome to the Poets Cafe. It is where artists comes alive. The spoken word brings forth the inner creation of hidden treasures, expressing tones of lyrics felt within the soul, vibration that brings stories untold. This platform represents artists of all backgrounds, be it writers, singers, spoken word, artistic expression, and painting, literature, poetry, and a journey through life. Mystery seeks to bring new ideas and opportunities through the mind at all levels. Wherefore my time leaving tomorrow on the wings of yesterday, where birds fly higher than the mystery of dreams never knew. Why do mellow sounds ring silently without ever leaving memories of my lonely blues? We walk by the calls of nature, sing in harmony, pray for the love of the skies, and dance with the stars like a feminine ballerina, gazing across the stage in her soft-toed ballerina shoes. Welcome to the Artists of Poetry Cafe show, Poetically Speaking, hosted by Terry Benjamin and Ron C. McCrae. As delighted as we are, we can't wait to engulf a new wave of presenting this platform to our audience. So, sit back and enjoy. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Now, let's get started.
Let's get started. Welcome out there. You know, this is the program that you look forward to every Sunday and also Thursday. So I'm Terry Benjamin. This is Ronald C. McCrae. And this is Poetically Speaking, the place for the spoken word. And as always, we give you the agenda. Today's agenda is identity and purpose. Say it loud. The quote of the day is from Madam C.J. Walker. And she says here, I am a woman who came from the cotton fields of the South. From there, I was promoted to the wash tub. From there, I was promoted to the cook kitchen. And from there, I promoted myself into the business of manufacturing hair goods and preparations. I have built my own factory on my own ground. Don't sit down and wait for the opportunities to come. You have to get up and make them. I got my start by giving myself a start. And this is Madam C.J. Walker. And again, the message there is, again, you can't wait for somebody to put you on. You have to put your own self on. And so, again, we're going to explore that particular topic. And also, we're going to go into some personal things that are related to women, but also to human beings. You know, we all have a time in our life that seems to be very difficult, and that we can't really get past it. But we're going to have a guest today who has been through some difficult times. But she has gotten past that, and she's going to help you to get past that as well. But at this point, we began, as we always do, with Ron's poetry. Ron, what do you have for us today, brother?
You know, I'm going to start with this, and I want to come back, but I was saving this for a moment. But I'm going to read one of the pieces I had earlier. And again, this is Women's Month, and we recognize and celebrate all women's, okay, no matter how you look at it, since the beginning of time, because they are the birth of the earth. You know, they are the channel that all of us come through.
That's right.
And so no matter how you look at it, you know, many parts of one body. So give me a second. I want to read this. And this is from one of my books, The Organic Flavors of Life. We See Colors. This title is Serenity on the Shores. On the shores, a time where life and beauty find peace, and the rugged roads of everyday tales brings to bear, and before our very eyes, we are destined to see life change. Like butterflies transforming from a sheltering cocoon to bright colors of freedom and illumination. There is serenity on the shores. On the shores overlooking the glittering top of the water edge, at the horizon where the sun and moon equally balanced moves into their respective places. Our minds transcends into the arms of paradise, and nature strips us down barefooted as if we were still in the Garden of Eden. And life's clustering sounds cause our souls to find serenity as the mist of dew moves and time stands still. Yes. So that is one of the, actually that was my first child. Not literally speaking, but that was my first piece that I wrote, and I started with that, and many have heard me express this in the beginning. And so it's, again, it continues to move forward, and it's every day in all of us, and especially with our guests today. You will also hear it's about transforming bright colors. Yesterday was dark. We come from darkness, right. But we moved into the light of beautiful colors. And this is why this platform is to inspire each and every person who has the sound of our voice to listen, chime in, and we like to hear your comments. Even if they're bad, but we're here to accommodate you.
That's right. Again, they say that all feedback is good feedback because at least you had to be listening to have something to say. So we welcome your comments. And again, this is our program, but it's also your program as well. And so we welcome you to comment, and also we invite you to come on. We have a young lady who we met in our journey, and she's here to speak to you about something that I think that you'll find very, very interesting. And who do we have here today?
Our guest today, one of the sisters, and as I said last week, I would like to hopefully and prayerfully that all brothers and men and whatnot start to identify our sisters, the ladies, the women in our lives, or even surroundings, even in this culture, as this is my sister. Hello, sister, how you doing? Have a great day, sister. That's what it's all about. It's about respect. So again, I want to introduce to you this evening, our sister, and we're going to engage as we move forward into a conversation that's going to engulf everyone. Today we have CHERI HOLMES. CHERI HOLMES is a survivor of domestic and sexual violence, now a certified advocate. Her healing journey has taken many turns forward and backwards, but she has been passionate and diligent in spreading awareness. In her own unique way, CHERI is God's daughter, mother of 3 young adults, who is bringing awareness to the various ways abuse shows up in our everyday lives that we may not be aware of. In friends, intimate relationships, in church, schools, and among the law. More than anything, CHERI pushes the message of handle her sisters healthy and whole, handling one another and care. And before we continue to move on, this is what this platform, we want to hear from you. Our conversation, our platform is to delve into the dark corners. And I say this all the time, not to insult anyone, but we respectfully understand that maybe the scars are deep, but we're not here to dig those deep scars, but we're here to bring you some kind of comfort, let the sun shine, and let the stars speak to you harmoniously. That's what it's all about. Life is who you are. We want you to feel life and know that there's a brighter side.
And so with that said, we bring you CHERI HOLMES, my sister.
Good evening.
Good evening. How you doing?
Evening. I'm doing well. How about you guys?
Fine.
Okay.
Fine.
Awesome.
Now, I guess my first question is, I understand that you have a book in the works.
I do.
And my question to you is, what would that book be about?
The book is about, just evolving from your journey is a message from a survivor. It is actually geared toward families that are dealing with anyone that has experienced domestic violence or any type of abuse, right? How to handle them. It talks about what questions you should ask or not be asking. How should you reach them? Things that I went through and experienced that I think is important that we address so that people can navigate through their healing in a positive way and also feel supported.
Yeah, I love that. Do you have a title for your book?
I do.
What's the title?
Handle with Care, Message from a Survivor.
Handle with Care, Message from a Survivor. That's beautiful. That's beautiful because, again, I believe, and my brother as well, to have these things come about, you have to manifest them. And as you manifest, it will happen. It's so funny. We talk about this particular program. Well, this idea came to me in 2020 during the pandemic.
Okay.
And it took 5 years to get it to this particular point because I was talking about I want to do a podcast. I want to do a TV show.
Yeah.
What about a podcast TV show? At that point, I had no access to the technology.
Right.
But, after 5 years and an apprenticeship with other programs and working with other people, and here it is. And I know, and I say to our listeners and our viewers, the book that she just spoke of, that's a manifestation, okay? And we're going to make that manifestation real. Now, you also talk about that you say you are God's daughter. What does that mean to be God's daughter?
What does that mean? I'm God's daughter. Without God, I don't care if you do have a natural father. If they're not well, if they're not healed, then they can't add, right, to the natural daughter's life in a way that is trusted, right?
Yes.
So with God, I'm able to look at my natural father through a perspective of respect, but maybe not communication, right?
Yes.
But with God being my father, I'm never abandoned. And I didn't always feel that way, but I'm never abandoned. I'm his daughter. He has to take care of me. He's responsible for my life, and I live that way today. God is responsible for CHERI. And because God is responsible for me, now I'm more responsible in how I make decisions and choices so that I'm not letting them down or letting myself down.
Let me ask a question. As you indicated, and as we continue to move forward, your life, and as you mentioned in short, and as I read in your bio, the scars you may have endured during the time. How did you feel towards your father, God, as we know? I mean, like many, by human nature, by the flesh, to get upset. Did you get upset? I want to read something, but I'm going to come back to this after you respond to that.
Was I upset? No, but I had questions.
Okay.
I had questions like anybody else. If God does truly exist, how does he allow certain things to take place, right? And then what does he do about it? How does he handle the persons, and even from a little kid, going to school and certain violations was taking place. And I'm wondering sometimes, and now that the Me Too has jumped off, I'm like, how many guys' lives would be destroyed right now if it was regular people that you called on the carpet for Me Too, So now just having young people in my life, I am dedicated to teaching them to respect other people's space, other people's property. I mean, other people's bodies, because you remember when you was a young boy, catch a girl, kiss a girl, walk down the hall, pinch a girl butt, but you had no idea how that made her feel. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You had no idea. When you think about it now as a grown man, if you have daughters, you probably thinking like, I will break what I'm saying?
You better not touch my daughter.
Exactly. But now that I think of it, and there's so many guys that I know that have been very abusive, very disrespectful.
Of course.
Now they have daughters that go through these things and they can't say anything. They're on mute, right?
Yes.
Because if you're still a perpetrator in any way, and now you're seeing your offspring go through that, how do you handle it?
Yeah.
So for me, I talk to God about that, like, Lord, give me an answer. One of the things that I can tell you that as I evolved in my spiritual life, one of the things I know that God spoke to me and said, people make choices. I created man with a free will, and sometimes their decisions will have impact on your life. That doesn't make me less God.
That's right.
It makes me more God, that I allow you to live through it and then have a message from it.
That's beautiful.
It's interesting, in short, something you said, and we'll come back also with that.
Okay.
And I think it's one of the biggest pieces that I thought about all my life, to look at it from that perspective. How did she feel because we talk about this all the time, especially when I was growing up, teenager and whatnot, and the brother comes all whatever, and the sister said, brother, that wasn't right. I apologize. See, they will apologize then as opposed to today. So let's talk about a little bit. Give me a second to talk about the film on the water. See, the film on the water is the trash, whatnot. And I'm going to say this, and the time is coming for everybody to respond, whatever the case may be.
Right.
But I think too many brothers get carried away with the assumption it's okay with the sister, but not taken away from the sisters who present yourself in a way that allow him out of character, but you don't hold them accountable by approaching him right by saying, brother or mister or whatever the case may be. I'm not that way.
That's right.
There's stop signs. Life has stop signs all around, and that's what's important. And I think we're going to continue to look at that because, again, poetically speaking, we're not getting into the drama aspect, but we want to tie all of this, poetically speaking, into what life is all about. We want to raise flowers and allow those butterflies that into a sheltering cocoon blossom because too many sisters, are scarred. They're hurting. However, and whatever took place, but without doing that, but we want you to know that you are in a good hand. And just right quick, I used to tell my daughter when that little friend come around, who is that?
Yeah, who's that guy? Yeah, who's that boy?
And they never came back.
I wonder why.
Right.
My daughter said, well,
why.
Dad, Saturday won't come around. I don't know why.
Right.
I just asked him a question.
I think it all stems too from early teaching, right? And the environment that you're raised in and what you come out of, just even for me, when you're going through so much, right? Yeah. I was having a conversation with a young man, and he men kill me always saying that and I'm not bashing men. Let's be clear. I'm just talking about my experiences.
Of course,
and talking to this. Well, I'm gonna call him a young man, but he like 54, and he goes, well, women love holding kids. Up as a what did he say, dangling kids.
Yeah.
I said, well, that's never been my experience, and I don't know any women that decide to have your children and you not be present.
That's right.
I don't care if you get along or don't get along, right? No one wants to do that job alone. Being a mom is a thankless job. It's a hard job, and when you do it by yourself, who signs up and says, oh, I want to have your baby, and you just leave me out here hanging to take care of the child by myself?
No one don't go like that. No. Yeah.
Who signs up to be in a relationship with a man to realize that he's going to be beating her brains out? Or if he's not doing that, speaking to me ill, because when you pursued me, I didn't approach you.
Yeah. It's so funny because I was working with a young man. As a matter of fact, when I say young man, he's a mature man, but his daughter came to me, and she said, I want you to help my father write his memoir. And I said, no, no problem with that. And so I started working with him, and he admitted that he was a cheater, that he cheated on his wife. But the thing that got him was that when he thought that she was cheating on him, then all hell broke loose because he just couldn't, he couldn't deal with that.
Yes.
And what happened is that his daughter wanted to find out why he did that. And the thing was that we would get to a point in the book where he was to discuss that, and he wouldn't talk about it. He kept on going around and around and around to the point where I told her, I said, I can't continue with your father because he refuses to be accountable for what he did. And when I found out later, she wanted to use his story as sort of some therapy for herself. And I said, you know what, that can't happen. Because, again, with all men, and I'm talking to all men out there, okay, there's two sides to every story. Yes. Okay? Now, you might see it one way, but she sees it another way, and those two sides need to come together because there is a story of the abused and there's a story of the abuser.
Absolutely.
And sometimes they have a different perspective because some men will tell you, and and there's one guy, he was telling me, she likes that. She likes being hit upside the head because I show her that I love her because I'm so jealous. And I'm thinking to myself, man, you don't make a bit of sense.
Right. And that's true. But you wouldn't believe how many people feel that way But one of the things for me is having that conversation across the aisle with the abuser and the abusee. Because don't get it twisted, women abuse men as well.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I will tell you that we can be even more brutal because it's what you do. But when we get to unleashing these tongues, and you know, for every 10 words you have, I have 100. You know, and I'm quick with it too. I don't have to think about a response, right? Because I can't. And I'm just speaking from my experience, you know, with my husband. I can't beat you physically, but with my words, I know you left plenty of conversations thinking about what I had to say, you know, and it plays back in your mind because I would see him going complete rage, and all I did was talk.
Well, you listen to me, you know, and I'm going to let you speak. When you're in a marriage, when you're in an intimate relationship, you know that person's weak point. I remember one time my first wife, we got into a heated argument, boy, and I knew if I said this, I would just shut her down, you know. And in the opening, I saw the opening, and I said, you know, I'm gonna say. And I held myself because if I said that would have destroyed her.
Exactly, and that comes with maturity, right?
It does.
But you know, but again, that speaks to us as a people, having people that are open and mature enough to guide us through, right?
Yes.
Even in church, that we should be able to come to the house of God transparently and say, hey, this is the issue, this is the problem, and not feel like you're being judged, you know, and it has to be a space of safety. We say it's safety, but not when the preacher gets up and preach what came out, what was said in the office, right?
That's right.
True experiences, you know. And again, I'm not judging anyone. I'm talking about CHERI because you told me to talk about myself.
That's right. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And even in that, you know, it has to be a safe space. When I say I'm God's daughter, then God has people in place that are supposed to be trusted. Right. And
beautiful.
I want to be able to trust, you know, and you're not always able to because people are human and everything is a good story. Right.
Yes.
And everything, like I tell a lot of women now, I know this from studying the word, that anything can be perceived as gossip.
Yes.
Me and my sister have a situation, and I'm not saying my blood sister, but any woman is my sister. You know, we have relationship and we all talking about things because that's what we do.
That's
women,
right.
we get together, we have conversations.
That's right.
But when they walk out the room, and depending on the intention of the one that carried it out, is how things evolve.
That's right. Yeah, I hear you.
And,
I hear you loud and clear.
This is Women's Month, so one of the things I want to push to women is let's be loving.
Let's
be loyal.
Wow.
Let's be honest, because if you take it out the room, then stand 10 toes down on it that you did, and let's have a conversation.
You're speaking truth right there.
Right?
You're speaking
because
truth.
this is how we heal.
Yes.
And that's what I think with women, we need healing.
Yes.
Because we do a lot of abusing to each other.
It goes both ways, right?
Right.
Yeah.
No matter how you look at it, you know, and you know, we know that this conversation. First, let me say this.
Yeah, please.
This is about health and wellness.
Yes.
We're not digging into the dark shadows of the past.
Right.
But in order to understand where we are today for health and wellness is to represent, not only represent, but to give a synopsis of what happened in the past. So we want to change things. And I want to continue to say what you just expressed. And I'm a firm believer. You see, men and women are hurting, no matter how you look at it. There's a lot of confusion in both sides. But what's important is that each one of us, each one of us is responsible for our own action based on how you think, based on what you do, and when you carry out the action. You are equally responsible. I don't care if it's 0% to 100%. Take ownership of that one piece. Like it was just expressed by our guests. Yes, women battle between them and hold men accountable, and yet still somebody don't want to take ownership. Who started the fire?
Right.
I'm a firm believer. One thing I don't do, and I said this and I will continue to say, I don't get into argue, fussing, and fighting. That's unacceptable. I don't get into it. Because the moment you start arguing and fighting and whatnot, you will hear silence. And this last piece, there's a scripture in Proverbs 25. It's better for a man to sit on the corner of 10 roofs than listen to a promising woman.
Oh, no.
Because once you leave that space, she's not going to argue with the air. Because the air said, like, well, who you talking to? You see? But once it comes down, because there's something inside that she's looking for attention, but she's looking for the right attention. And that's what, men, you have to take time to start to look at yourself and understand, who am I? And right quick, because here, I say this all the time. When you hear that 2020, I know a lot of people know that 2020.
Yeah.
80% of mothers raise their boy to be a man, and 80% of men raise their daughters to be women. That's where the respect come in. Because like we said in the beginning, you know, if my daughter's come home with some little boy, I'm saying, well, who's that knucklehead? Or if the mother said, well, who's that girl with the hood or whatever. That's what's important.
And also, it's so funny, CHERI, we don't usually get this early, but people are listening. Again, these are our people watching. Relentless Aaron says, continue progress, fellas. Michael Carr says, say that. Aretha Foster Bram says, tell the truth, Ron. And Michael Carr says again, that's the word. And again, you know, I know when I was trying to work on this memoir with this brother, you know, sometimes he was saying, well, she made me. You know, she got loose at the lips and she made me hit her. Right. She made me, you know, chastise her. I'm thinking, that's not your daughter. That's your wife. You know, she's a womankind, but, you know, she's in a different category. But he was from this position that, you know, you, my wife, you know, you do as I tell you to do. And, of course, the average black woman ain't hearing that.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I'm just saying you have to be in the right position to have, you know, to have a certain expectation.
Yes.
And, you know, as over time, you know, I've learned to be in the room.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
With a brother.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
And it's hard to call men your brother, right?
Yeah,
because the expectancy is that we're not brother and sister.
Yeah.
But looking at each other from a mutual perspective,
yes.
And being able to recognize that broken and broken don't make whole.
No, it don't.
You got to be whole.
That's
you
right.
have to be whole,
right?
And a lot of that comes from
you
being able to, one, accept who you have been, accept who you are, and recognize where you need to heal. Because we can point the fingers all day, and I'm never excusing any man that has abused me or any other woman, or any woman that has abused a man, because we do have to talk about that. There is 1 in 7 men are abused by women. You know, we don't talk about that, right?
No,
but 1 in every 3 women have been abused by a man. You know, and that's that intimate relationship abuse. But abuse goes so many ways, you know, financial, emotional, psychological, you know, physical, and people think domestic violence is just physical abuse. It's not. That verbal abuse is something else. Because when you get to demeaning one another and devaluing one another, those are things that don't go away. A slap, that's thing going to go away. But those words, they sit with you. They sit with you, right? And then what happens? We do that same thing to our children. You know, I was on a panel and I was speaking and I told them, I said, you know, one of the things that I wish I could do is take every second and moment out of my children's mind.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
Right? If I could do anything for my kids, it would take away any form of disrespect I allowed them to see. I would take it away from them. But you can't, right?
You can't.
And with that, you're just gonna have to build on the healing and let them see you evolve, right? Especially my son. Right?
Well.
When you're dealing with a young man and they don't see respect or receive respect, that's a different ball game, right? My daughter, the oldest one, she grew up with me, you know, and she watched a man try to take my life.
Wow.
She's 34 right now.
Okay.
And I often say to her, I wish I could take that out of your mind. But her answer back is, you know what? I wouldn't, because I wouldn't be who I am right now without it, you know?
Wow.
But just being able to trust yourself. Like right now, you can't catch me dating because I'm telling you. I'm like, I feel like I'm going to the circus sometimes. And I don't trust myself because I'm like, I never get it right. So if I'm dating, I'm bringing them to you. I'm bringing them to a lot of men. Y'all say y'all care about me? Check this joker out because I can't get it right, you know?
No, but again, it's so funny because it's like that vetting. And I know... I remember there was this Tom Cruise movie that was out, was very popular, and he said something that really, when I heard it,
Top
just
Gun?
made, no, not Top Gun. It was a relation movie, and he said, he would tell the woman that you complete me. that's a dangerous thing. You know,
Yes.
you don't complete me, I don't complete you. You complete yourself, and we come together as complete people.
As
It was
complete people.
Jerry Maguire was the movie.
Yes.
And I read, when I heard that, I said, you know, that ain't right. You know,
Yeah.
that ain't right. And one more thing before I continue. I was at a conference, like many conferences. We have men and women conference. We got men and women together, and the moderator was speaking, and one of the brothers was saying that, you know, he looked at his wife and he says, she's beautiful. I mean, you know, my wife is beautiful, and there is no one that can replace her. And he said, you know, I have women on the job and whatnot, but I'm looking at my wife. She's beautiful, and I'm thinking, no, you lying. Because I know your wife is a dime piece. I know that she's beautiful and whatnot. But you on the job. And the woman walks up and said, Ron, I like that shirt that you got on today. Mm-hmm. I like that bow tie. Man, that vest is banging. Now, she may not look as good as your wife, but you know what? She's doing something that your wife is not doing. She's complimenting you every day. Your wife is sort of maybe taking you for granted. So although she may not look as good as your wife, danger.
Well,
okay, because men can be susceptible to that, you know.
But that's all about discipline, though.
Yeah, it is.
It's all about discipline across the board, right?
Yes,
and having self-respect.
Yes.
Because, again, cheating, you spoke about that.
Mm-hmm.
That's abuse.
It is abuse.
You know?
Yes.
That's a whole different level of abuse.
Yes.
Because, you know...
Ooh.
That's a different subject. That's a subject matter all by itself.
It is, and it's so funny because I want to just, want to move to something else. I'm going to get back to what you're saying, but it's a segment of the program that, we call Mind, Body, and Books. Mm-hmm. And in that segment, I talk about different books. And this book here is called Black Faces in White Places, 10 Game-Changing Strategies to Achieve Success and Find Greatness. And this is from Randall Pickett, Jeffrey Robinson, with Philana Patterson. And in the book, they talk about self-determination, your identity as an asset, and your purpose as a source of power. So the theme for today's program is identity and purpose. Say it loud, okay? You need to know who you are, but you need to also know your purpose. And I just want to briefly just emphasize some of the things from the book. And it says here that a strong identity is a tremendous asset. It says your ethnicity, your uniqueness, your culture, and your diversity, all aspects of your identity, are perhaps your greatest contribution to anything you do. And inevitably, there are times when society may suggest that your ethnic identity should be suppressed. That is a liability. Also goes on to say a well-defined purpose is a tremendous source of power. Yes. Knowing and embracing your purpose engenders confidence in your capacities and commands of your capabilities. For us, when we came to believe that God ultimately shaped our purpose, we realized that our power came from Him and Him only. And the last thing that I want to share from this book, it says here, a strong identity gives you a solid sense of self. And then they have 3 points. A well-defined purpose gives you a definitive sense of direction. A strong identity grounds you. It allows you to define yourself on your terms as opposed to others defining you on their terms. A well-defined purpose gives your life meaning. And again, as we speak to you, CHERI, especially because you are at this point working on a book, and as I said before we started, you have a very personal story. But the thing is that your story can help so many women because, again, it's your story, but it has a universal aspect, which we definitely want to explore. And so, again, I thank you for coming onto the program. I thank you for your testimony because you went through the test. And your book and what you say here is your testimony. And I really appreciate that. What say you, my brother?
I truly commend this opportunity, and it is truly a pleasure because I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah, please.
Too often, as you express and as we both know, we try to change the tone on this platform. is that you walk around, not you, our guest, walk around with an attitude, blaming somebody, but you won't take time to look in the mirror and to blame yourself for allowing this to happen. A fire doesn't just start. Somebody started it. But a fire doesn't continue to burn unless you continue to feed it.
That's right.
See, so by ignoring and don't speak, don't say what, but you're in society. I see this all the time. And I was saying to somebody, there's nothing worse than for me to walk past a sister, say hello, she act like the world is on her shoulder, like I did something wrong. And you know, we can look back, you know, and say, well, all brothers are this and all brothers are that, or men say all women did. Hold up. As I said, you are accountable to change the tone, change direction. The wind, the storm may come and blow everybody away. It doesn't pick or choose. But it's only when you calm that storm, when you calm that beast. If a sister say, brother, you know that wasn't right. Because I would say this, and I wrote a piece too. You know, and it's sad. I'm totally against abuse, you know, whether it's from a sister, a woman, or a man, because there's no reason. Because the exact same token, you won't go out and take it on somebody else. Now, I say this. If you do, then you ain't picking and choosing. So you crazy across the board. But when you pick and choose and you come home, beat up on your wife, your daughter, your sister, you cannot justify 1 ounce of that. The reasons why. I don't care, and honestly, what was done to you. But there's too many men and brothers out here that we fail as a whole to come to the rescue of that sister, that mother, that daughter, and say, brother, you know they ain't right. And our history will show that because they did it in the past. All men came together to support that sister. And just like women held women accountable, because you know that ain't right. But that's what's missing. So when you hear that old saying, it takes a whole village, absolutely. Because there's more pieces to one body. And that sister came from you if you know who you are. Because again, if you believe in God, I don't care what book you pick up. If you believe that God created you from the dirt, he brought from you that woman that helped me. He didn't give you somebody to beat up on. No. Or somebody to treat you bad. But the bottom line is, we have to be what life has created us to be.
And CHERI, my question to you is that I know once you publish this book that you're going to be in demand for speaking engagements. And I guess my question, we'll have two questions for you. Okay. The first question I have is that what would you say to your younger self at this particular point? If you were able to go back to the beginning of the abuse, what would you say to your younger self?
Speak up.
Speak up.
Yeah. To my younger self, I would say, go to that person that you can trust. And it's not always, unfortunately, home.
Okay.
You know, it's not always home because guess what? Home was volatile too, you know? Ooh. So when you're coming from that situation, you know what I'm saying? When you're coming from a space that's volatile, when you're coming from that and you're growing up in it, you know, because even being very transparent, I grew up in it. You know, I grew up seeing it. You know, my grandfather, my father and mother, you know, and then you go to school, you're being bullied. You know what I'm saying? You don't have a sense of self. Right? You don't have a sense of who you are. And, you know, looking back at it now, my mom was young when she had me. She was young when she had 5 kids. And I'm thinking now that I'm a mother, I'm like, man, listen, okay, I was 21 when I had my first daughter. But, you know, just thinking of the things that they were going through, you know, and then I see it playing out in my own life, right? Wow. And one thing I would say to me as a to my younger self today, I would say find an outlet, find somebody that, you know, you could trust, you know, and do what I did. I talked to God a lot, you know. I did, and I had one, well, she's still my best friend. You know, I would talk to her about things, but, you know, you can't be telling everything that's going on at home. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
Even though they think, and another thing is that, you know, enforce, you know, you can't make a person believe you, but keep talking until they do.
Wow.
Because that's the biggest piece, right, is that having that dialogue with your children and letting them know home is a safe zone. If home is not safe, your kids are susceptible to anything. Trust and believe it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't change. And today it's even more dangerous because they have more technology.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
It's way more technology now than it was. That makes it even worse because they're dealing with cyberbullying abuse. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You know, but they do have laws now. And this is, I talk to my son, he's 20. I'm like, listen here, don't you get roped up in those situations with no females. You walk away. Demand your respect.
That's right.
You know, I tell my son, I tell my nephews, I tell young men, you command your respect. When you meet a female, you don't know where she's been.
That's right.
And I tell my son the same thing. You have no idea where she's been. So you can't label a woman this and label her that because you don't know what has transpired and changed the course of her life for her behavior.
Wow.
You know, you can't. He's a young man, and I have to teach him. Every woman is to be respected. Yeah. Every woman you run into is a gem. You know why? Because we nurturers by nature.
Oh, look out.
We will carry everything. We will nurture good, and we will nurture not so good because we're carriers. So it's just depending on what you feed is what you'll get.
That's right. It's beautiful. And my second question, how about does therapy work?
Absolutely.
Speak on therapy.
Listen, therapy and the word goes together.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? It does. It goes together because if you're not seeking natural therapy and you're carrying so many things on your own, well, that's where depression, anxiety, panic, all of that stuff comes in. Wow. So you need a biased person that you can just lay it all out for. I remember telling my therapist, and I told her, I said, listen, you can't pick up your pen until after my hour is over. Wow. Because I'm paying for this hour.
That's right.
And anything you want to say after that, you do that on your dime. Right. But on this 1 hour right here, you're going to hear everything I have to say. You know, and I have to tell you that it was the best thing for me. It was actually the start of me being able to look in the mirror. Because for about 10 years, I didn't have a mirror in my house.
Oh, wow.
Because I couldn't look at me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you. I hear what you're saying.
That's some of the stuff that's in this book. You know, because, yes, I had people around, people knew. But sometimes, you know, when people don't understand a certain thing, they don't know how to help you.
Yeah. Because most people say, you know, CHERI, why did you stay? Now, CHERI, you seem like an intelligent young woman.
Yes.
So why did you stay? What did you tell yourself to stay in that abusive relationship?
And can I tell you that's one of the things I talk about? Don't ask that question.
Why you say don't ask the question?
Because if you knew why, you wouldn't be there.
I hear you. Okay.
Right? Let's just be honest. If you knew why. If the person perpetrating knew why he did the things he did.
I hear you.
You know what I'm saying? So we shouldn't ask why, because if you knew why, and that's the question that make you feel even worse.
Okay.
That's the question that makes them stay, because now I have to justify and protect. You know, and we don't think about that. So that's why I think this book is important, and it's important for every person that will be involved with a person that has been through any form of abuse. Yes. Right? Yeah. Because we have to, and if nobody ever speaks about it, you know, and I volunteer with a particular organization.
Yes.
And when I'm dealing with some of these organizations, I'll be like, I just wish they would get to the meat of it.
Okay.
But I think that's why God has me here, you know, to get to the meat of it. Don't ask why. And don't tell them what to do.
Yeah.
Because you are talking about it. You know what I'm saying? You talking about it. Listen.
Talking about it.
It's going to make them stay. Because I can make it better. Right?
Now, in the course of the
I'm responsible.
Abuse, yeah, but in the course of the abuse, did you ever have the thought that, well, you know, maybe he would change?
Of course.
Maybe things would turn around. And did he give you any indication that he would change?
So with that, I always say, every incident is worse.
Okay.
Right? Because, you like, okay, the first hit, you know, I didn't mean it. I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. Yes, and you also blaming yourself. See, because you got to remember there's a lot of emotion going back and forth.
Yes.
You know? And I don't know when people don't come to the table and be transparent when they deciding to get together.
Yes, yes,
That's
yes,
the
yes.
thing. You should just have a questionnaire now, right?
A questionnaire.
Where have you been? What have you been through? And I'm being so
I
serious
hear you,
because
yeah,
we're
yeah.
human beings and coming in alignment. So you're coming with your book bag.
Yes, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
coming with mine.
Yes, yes.
Let's unload them.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because at least I'll know what's a trigger to you.
Mm-hmm.
At least I'll know, what your thoughts are about certain things. I tell my son has a little girlfriend now, and I tell her all the time, I'm like, this boy good stock. He may not be perfect, but he good stock. Why? Because I raised them to know. Listen, you have been through some things, and he has been.
Of course.
Because he was with me. Because
Okay,
what
yeah,
people
yeah.
don't remember, what people fail to realize is that kids are first line witnesses.
Wow.
You know why? Because they see it all.
Yes, yes.
But
yes,
nobody asks the child.
Wow.
No one considers the child.
Mm-hmm.
The child has been there. And so now I tell mothers all the time, you can't be a parent by yourself.
Okay. Okay.
You have to have a village. And I don't care where you get it from. You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah,
get
yeah, yeah.
people that you see them doing a decent job with their children. You see them protecting them and keeping their kids in a safe space. Because kids that grow up in volatile environments, if they're not arrested early, and I'm not saying arrested by police, I'm saying arrested from those behaviors and thought processes, they become the same.
Yeah. Now, as a young woman, what were your expectations for marriage? Did you have any expectations? Did you see it was going to be nice and it's a white picket fence and it's the husband and the wife and the dog and the kids and whatnot?
I just thought I'd have a teammate.
Okay, all right.
I just thought I would have a teammate and that somebody that would see me for me and recognize my gifts, recognize my talents, and that we could do something together. I just wanted somebody to be on my team. I wanted somebody that I could talk to and, lay things out and just say, hey, these are the things that hurt me. These are the things that bother me, but unfortunately, if you're not if you're aligning yourself with someone and they're not mature enough to handle where you've been, you can't expose it because then it becomes a weapon.
Wow. Yeah.
So, and then that makes everything else worse because where I'm supposed to be able to trust, I can't.
Okay.
Because I've shared something so sacred to me.
Yes.
And now it's been used against me, right? So what I've learned is that we all have to be in a space of maturity, and we have to, if we're going to align with people, we have to remember we're taking everything that come with them. So why not we just be on that journey to heal together, but don't lock in until you do the work.
Okay, well, I'm going to get real deep with you now. Okay, we're
Okay.
going to get real personal. Okay,
That's fine.
you ready?
I told you.
Okay,
I told you can ask me
you
whatever
say that.
you want.
Okay, I'm going to come at you.
But I did say.
Yeah, you did say that, and I'm going to hold you to that.
Okay.
Now, and I know from my own personal experience, okay?
Yes.
And it's been said that women mature faster than men, okay? So you have a woman who is, like, say, 25. The man is 25, but they're not on the same level. Now, what happens, I don't know if it's in your case, I don't know you that well, but a woman is 25. Now, they said she should marry maybe a man who's 30, who's a little more mature. But even with that, I'm giving women the even more credit. I'm saying even with 25 to 30, the woman is still mostly more mature than the man. So my question to you, does the man ever catch up with the woman? And is that a problem?
I don't think we could say that about all men.
Okay.
I think the maturity of men and women
Yes.
are based on the maturity of the people raising them.
Ooh, steep.
That's what I say.
Okay.
I say that's based on the people and the maturity level of the people that have raised them.
Okay.
What have they been through?
Yes.
Have they worked out their stuff? Do they acknowledge that there's some things going on with them? You know what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying.
Because I had a brilliant mom.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
This lady is the truth.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I've seen my mother and father, and not for nothing being raised up in a home where prayer was established.
Okay.
Right? But
Okay.
you've seen
Okay.
other things going on and you like, what's that? So
Yeah.
even my view of salvation and serving God was kind of like skewed.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah, I hear you. I hear you
Because
saying, yeah.
although we know the word, but we're not living it completely.
Oof.
Right? And you said we could be transparent.
Please,
so
come on.
My
Come
ministry
on with it. Come on.
is transparent,
Yeah,
right?
yes.
My father, I always say he was a jack of all trade, a master of none. But had he had the right people holding him accountable for himself and his family, I think my home would have looked totally different.
I hear you.
You know what I'm saying? If my mom had the right women, friends in her life, it would have been totally different. You know, because she's so gifted, and so. But my father couldn't see those gifts because he was out there trying to do what he do. However, he knew how to do it.
That's right.
So those two people coming together at that time, and they were young. They were impressionable. But I don't know who was their sounding board. You know, I didn't see it. And what I did see around wasn't conducive to health. Now that I'm older, I'm like, man, my mother could have scrapped all them people in her. You know what I'm saying?
I hear exactly what you're saying.
But she was a young woman with 5 kids, and now I have more grace than I did before because I was a little angry and bitter because she couldn't be who I needed her to be for me. And now I realize why she couldn't be.
Wow. Well, again, you're giving it's a beautiful testimony of those who are listening. Please, and I see more. We have more comments here. Monica Sane says, "So true that domestic violence isn't just physical." And Michael Carr said, "True that the emotional and psychological trauma scars and wounds deeply." And Monica Sane says, "I'm so sorry that happened to you, CHERI. It's really a dating circus out there." Hopefully, it's that time talking about dating. Laretha Foster Bram says, "Those scars are my beauty marks."
Yeah.
And Monica Sane says, "Truth about you complete me. It's a belief that is so human." Michael Carr says, "Self-accountability is important." And he says here, "Someone may be a contributor, but remember, you made the choice." Monica Sane says, "That's right. There's no excuse for abuse. It is definitely a choice to abuse someone." And Monica Sane says, and I really concur, she says, "Beautiful testimony, deep." Deep, my sister. You know, again, these are just comments from our viewers and our listeners. And you've really opened up a conversation that, you know, again, is so worthwhile. And I really like the fact that you brought in your mother and looking back at her experience because, again, as adults, when we get into the marriage thing, all we have to look at as examples is our mother and our father.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, for a lot of us, I myself, speak personally for myself, I was raised by my mother and my grandmother. My mother and my father never married. My mother had when she was 14 years old. And so my role models for males were my uncle, and although my father and mother never married, I always had him as a role model as well. But as a young woman, you look to your mother, for what you have to go through. And I'm sure that, you said you have 2 daughters?
Yes.
You have 2 daughters and 1 son. And I'm sure that your daughters look at you as a role model and your son. And one thing, before I go to my brother, I don't know if it's the same, but when I was growing up, they say that, and I want you to listen to this very carefully, they say, we love our sons, we raise our daughters, which means that, oh man, when I was a kid, I only had one thing to do on Friday night is take out the garbage. And they had to remind me about that. Terry, yes, it's Friday. Oh, yeah. You know what you have to do. What? The garbage. Oh, yeah. Oh, well, can I just watch this program? And then when I had children, I told my wife, I said, whatever you teach the girls, I want you to teach my son. I want him to know how to cook, to clean and that kind of stuff, because I don't want him to think that, well, this is woman's work and whatnot. No, you're a human being. These are things that you need to do. And I don't know if it's the same way, but what say you about that? Do we still follow that premise?
I will say that I do not.
Okay.
Just even thinking about my daughters when they were younger, I was on this journey of, teaching them about abstinence.
Oh, okay.
Because I thought that that was important,
Yeah,
you know.
I hear you.
And I
Yeah.
taught my son the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
And having respect for their body and the bodies of others, having respect for the fact that God created you, and why now I know why sex should be within marriage.
Yeah.
You know? And I talk about it. I don't,
Yeah.
you know, some
Understand it.
people
Yeah.
are afraid to have these conversations, but I'm not, because I don't want people to go through the same things. Like, we have to break that cycle, and it happens by being truthful, even if it brings you out to a space of vulnerability.
Yes,
right.
yes.
So with my son, I taught him the same thing. My daughters, I taught them the same thing.
Beautiful.
You know, I don't ask a lot of questions,
Yeah.
for some things I don't want to know. You know, but I know one thing: they all have the tools, right?
Yes.
And I do know that they choose mom when something goes on. My son on that phone calling me.
Yes, right.
He like,
Right.
Yo,
Yeah.
Ma, it's going this and it's doing that, and I tell him immediately, like, listen, you always exit. Because one thing I tell him, and I will tell any man that gets involved with my daughter. One of my daughters, she's young, she's married.
Yes.
You know, I was like, man, y'all don't think y'all too young, you know. But I think they're going into their third year.
Okay.
And I love her husband, you know,
Yeah,
and
that
I
helps.
try to be for him,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
that sounding board too. I'll give him advice even when he don't ask.
Yeah. Well,
I text him at 5 a.m, like I do them, like, hey,
Okay.
this was on my mind and this is what I want to say to you.
Yeah.
But you know,
you gotta
I
get this. Yeah.
no, I think it's a solid ground, because I want the same thing for someone else's daughter that I want for mine.
Yeah.
So I raise my son that way. I want whoever my son is dating, I want her mother to be able to sleep at night knowing that she don't have to worry about her child being hurt in any way, shape, or form.
That's beautiful.
And with
Yeah.
my daughters, the same thing. But them girls, you know, they tight. They have I am to them what I needed.
Oh, beautiful. And it's so funny because as we go through this program, now I told you once we start, we rolling.
Yes,
Because now we have like 10 minutes.
Okay.
10 minutes
Wow.
left.
Okay, that went
And
well.
I want to
It
bring
went
my
by
brother in
fast.
here because I call him the cleanup man, you know? Because when we get to this point, we got to sort of get everything cleaned up so we can go to our finale. But CHERI, you've been inspiration. You've been a motivation. You got the people talking early because they usually wait till the end of the program, but you know they jumped on right away.
All
And I got some more comments that I got to read when I get home. But again, you know, I really thank you so much. And I thank my brother for bringing you on. You know, he told me about you, and I said, yeah, well, let's see what you got to say. You know what? You got a lot to say. Thank you, my brother. Thank you.
I appreciate
My cleanup
that.
man. You know, you got about what? You got 8 minutes.
I'll do it in 5.
Oh, look out.
You know, what's important is that I truly, this is absolute without question a blessing, because the dialogue, the kind of conversation we just had nothing to do with starting a forest fire or trying to find out where's the earthquake and who started the forest fire or whatever
Right,
case may
right.
be. A storm is a storm.
Yeah.
A storm don't pick and choose. But the bottom line is, as we know, the physical storm has been created to do what it was designed to do.
That's right.
But yet and still, it's a message for human beings to realize all that noise you make, you create a storm. But now you want to blame each other until it's instead of taking an opportunity to try to put the storm out. I have a lot of bullet points, but I'm just going to make them short. But something I want to read too. First of all, you know, the Bible says, and I don't have the topics off the top of my head, but anyway, the Bible says, I think it's in Hebrews, confess your faults one to another. Your fault one to another.
Yes.
If you hold somebody accountable and say, look, why did you do that? Because it came back, why? I use that word all the time. See, why go from now to eternity? Yes. Why? But see, there's a difference between trying to ask the question why for understanding clarity versus trying to be sarcastic and trying to create more of a forest fire.
That's right.
So here, when you ask the brother or sister, why? Then it's like putting heat and cold on their head, and that it feels too, because they don't have anything to battle with.
That's right.
But as long as you're
right.
feeding that anger, that negativity, it continues to go warm. Here's a book by Joyce Myers.
Oh, that's my
Battlefield
book.
of the
Oh, that's your book?
Yes.
You know that book, right?
That book helped me.
This is what's
okay.
important.
Beautiful.
There's too many people out here with a war going on in your own head.
Absolutely.
In your head.
Woo.
But if the war's going on in your head, why are you taking that on me? And here in the exact same token, as it was expressed by our guests. Yes, women are
the battlefield of the
women
mind.
are the nurturers. And in, I think in Ephesians, okay, when those are married, because we need to do several more platforms like this. Obey your husband, honor your wife. See, too many, and I'm telling you the fact, has taken out of context.
Yes.
When the word says obey your husband, honor your wife, because collectively you come together as one. See, that's what's important. So obey means that he is obeying the word, which is obeying Jesus, which obey God. So if you believe in God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit, I don't care if you believe in the Prophet Muhammad or Moses. The fact is, they follow the one who created them and called them to on a journey. But in the same token, God also called women to go out and fight wars. Queen Sheba left. She was a queen. She had a lot. But she saw King Solomon, who had wisdom. It wasn't the fact that he was masculine and whatnot. She sought him for wisdom. Sure, God gave him everything he didn't ask for. He just said, I want wisdom so I can teach my people. But because he had more, naturally, you see, well, he had 700 wives and concubines. But it wasn't about the way you think it now.
That's right.
And that's the difference. And the other thing, too, you know, as I said, there's a lot of bullet points, but let me read this because, again, we don't have enough time. And we're going to have to come back again. But let me read this again.
We might have to do a part 2 here.
Yeah,
I'm thinking now because we're coming down to the wire here, right?
And this was written by Langston Hughes, 1927. A song of a dark black girl. Why down south in Dixie, break the heart of me. They hung my young black lover to a crossroad tree. Why? Way down south in Dixie, bruised body high in the air. I asked the white Lord, Jesus, what was the use of prayer? You see, scars go all the way back since the beginning of time.
That's right.
Sodom and Gomorrah. And so even the conversation now, and all those who are listening and think, well, I'm talking about, no. I think it's in Kings and Chronicles. I think it's in Kings where King Solomon's daughter, Tamar, you know, off the top of my head, but you can go back and read it and look it up for yourself, who was raped by her half-brother.
David,
David's daughter.
You see, she was taken advantage and then sent her out in the streets, cast, because nobody wanted to be bothered. See, we don't have enough time. And I know you gave me a moment.
We need to have a conversation just on Tamar.
No, but he got excited. So, again, we have just a few more minutes, and this is what I want to do. Can we have you back? Can we do a part 2?
Absolutely.
Okay, so she's committed to part 2 because obviously this discussion has just begun. And again, obviously it's important.
Yes.
Obviously it transcends Women's History Month. You got my brother excited, you know, to the point where he couldn't wrap up the way that he usually does. But that's okay. That's okay. I had some other things I want to discuss as a part of the program. I put those things to the side because one of the things, in my audience, you know this program is not about me and not about my brother here. It's about you. And we have a young woman here who has information that she needs to share because, again, you go through your tests and you go through your testimony and then you go into your calling. And I'm saying to CHERI Holmes that, you know, what you're doing now is your calling.
Yes.
Because what you're talking now is something that many women have to talk about. And I'm not talking about just black women, white women, Latin women, Hispanic women, whatever you want to call them. This is a conversation that needs to be had. So we're going to call this part 1, and we're going to do part 2. Now, I don't know if we can do it next week, but whatever it is, we're going to do it. Because, again, you've opened up some hearts, you opened up some minds, and we really need to do that. So I'm going to give you 1 minute, CHERI, just to let us know how you feel. You okay?
I feel fine.
Okay.
I feel great.
Because I don't want you to think, I don't want to open up something that, you know,
No.
we don't want to trigger anything. Okay?
I appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk about it because, again, handle with care. One of the things I've done recently is stop reading because I read a lot of self-help books to help me navigate. But what I realize is that you can get fed off of information, but it doesn't matter if there's no application. So now I'm moving into a journey of silence, learning how to be quiet with some things, you know, not to be so self-critical or critical of others, not to be judgmental. You know what I'm saying? Like, we on this journey of, you know, cleansing myself from some things, because when you go through things, you want to justify it or be mad.
Of course, yeah,
but
yeah,
you
yeah.
know what? God calls us to healing. And when he touches our life, he touches our life. When that word says, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature, that is an evolution. It's not every day, that it's not a one day thing. It's evolution. It's taking time. It's a metamorphosis, like the caterpillar
Yes,
goes into the
yes,
cocoon
yes.
and becomes the butterfly. But the butterfly never goes back to being the caterpillar.
right,
It never goes back to the cocoon,
Okay.
right?
Wow.
So it is what it is.
That's
We
very-
have to evolve and grow. And I ain't even get to talk about my brown bag
Well,
project,
no,
but
again,
we will do that next
listen
time.
to me. You're gonna bring your brown bag back when we do part 2.
Okay,
so we're
awesome.
out of time. Again, I want to thank those who are listening, those who are watching. This has been Poetically Speaking, the place for the spoken word, and our special guest has been CHERI Holmes, and she will be back, and we will be back. So with that said, I want to say good night to you, and we'll see you soon.